welcome to Detroit in Black and White. I'm Adolph Mongo. Allan Lengel from Deadline Detroit.
Good evening.
And
Friday evening.
Jim Nardone from Trenton.
Good evening.
You know what I like in Trenton, Jim?
What's that?
Ramsey, man.
I saw Johnny tonight.
How Johnny doing?
He's getting there. He's going to go down to the rehab center. What is it called? Rehab Center Institute or whatever.
And Johnny is the owner of Ramsey, right?
That's right.
Had an accident, and he'll come a long way. That's my man, Johnny.
What kind of accident? What happened?
Johnny's a great guy.
He fell off a ladder. He was trying to cut down a tree or cut down a ladder. He's been in the hospital for almost 4 months. He's still in rehab. So he's going to the Rehab Institute.
Wow.
A place we learned about from our friend True Sensation not too long ago.
Okay. No question.
Wow.
Allan Lengel, you said Mar McDonald quit.
No, I don't know. It's a rumor. It's a rumor.
Okay, the rumor. But listen, I know Mar. You know Mar too.
Yeah. I reached out to her. She hasn't gotten it.
When she took the job with Ray Washington, she knew what was happening, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it ain't no big deal. You know, the bottom line is, listen. I was against Kwame Kilpatrick when he first ran.
Mm-hmm.
I beat up on his ass all the time.
Uh-huh.
And then one day he called me. He kept calling me about 3 o'clock in the morning and asking me to work with him and all this other shit. Yeah. And my wife said, "You don't want to work with him." I said, "But this is Mayor of Detroit calling me. Mm-hmm. You know, I respect the office. I work for a mayor." And so I said, "Okay." So you know what you're getting into. I tell people that I parachuted on the deck of the Titanic.
Yeah.
Because it was sinking at the time. But I had a way to get out. But the bottom line is, if she quit, but I understand. But the bottom line is, if I was working with Ray Washington, the sheriff, I would tell him, do not hire ex-reporters.
Because
when they see stuff that's happening, they go back into their reporter mode. Can't help it. Yeah. You cannot help it. And you're going to start looking at stuff and you're going to say, why am I here?
Yeah.
Am I right?
True. That's true. I think the loyalty, I mean, if you're a PR guy, you're a political operative where you say, hire me, I'm gonna have your back. I'm gonna try to, get you out of these bad situations. And I think maybe as a reporter, at some point, you say, wait a minute, this is wrong, and I shouldn't be on this side. And,
right.
And you don't have that same. I have a question though. You went to work for Kwame. Did you change your opinion of him when you worked for him?
No.
What was your opinion?
No, because he never told me the truth. But I'm gonna tell you, when you do a debate, you know you can be on both sides. You study to be on both sides.
Right.
I can be for it, against it. Right. Now I like him, and I knew him before he ran for office. And when his mother was running for Congress and she was leaving her seat, I met with him and I said, "You need to run for her seat." And he said, "Yeah, but she don't want me to run." I said, "You need to run because, you're not going to get that opportunity." Kilpatrick called me and said, "Why you getting my son in this?" And I didn't want him to run. I said, because he need to run.
Right.
But Kwame was a different kind of guy. So when he got elected as a state rep, and I tried to talk to him one time, I found out who he was. See, he was like a different kind of guy. I'll get back to you and all this other shit.
Did that bother you, knowing that
That bothered me.
he
Of
was not being
course,
truthful?
because I pushed him into running for that shit.
Uh-huh.
But then when he ran for mayor, I didn't think he was ready to run for mayor because he ran and he won, and I was with Gil Hill, and he won and he beat Gil Hill. But the bottom line is, when he got in trouble, he called me, and I was like, nah, I don't want to. But I said, well, the mayor, okay, I'll help him. But every time I asked him about, you got something that's going to come out? No, man. No. Ain't nothing coming out. Then it come out, and it come out, and it come out. I helped him. He was losing. I did the ad and shit. And he won in 2005. The ad went viral. It went all over the world. I had people calling me from England, France, and all this stuff. The lynching ad. And he begged me, do not tell anybody that you did the ad. So I didn't. And people calling me. Nobody knew what the ad was until Charlie LaDuff. Some years later, I told him, I said, I did the ad. There's no question about it. He's not loyal to anybody.
Yeah.
He was not loyal to anybody. Everybody that worked with him, he threw him under the bus. And I remember, I never forget this. We was over at the shrine of the Black Madonna Church. I spoke. Some of the other people spoke. When he got up there and he looked at everybody out there and he looked at me, he said, hey, I wish all the stuff that's happening to me, I wish it was on you, Adolph. I wish it was on you. He was pointing at people. I said, why would he point to folks and wish they was in that shit?
Right.
You know what? But that was him. And the bottom line is, they was pissed at people. I was the last person standing when he went down. All these people, they jumped ship. He hired people from DC. He hired all these folks, but they didn't want to go on TV. They didn't want to. I said, why are you hiring people when they don't even want to go on TV to support your ass? But I did, and I was there because he paid me.
And what influence do you think his parents had on the way
his parents always got him out of all the shit?
Yeah.
When he was in at Florida A&M, he got into shit. And when we was when I was with Gil Hill and I was going down and checking him out, he had all kind of shit. And I talked to the newspapers in Tallahassee, and they said, he said, one of the reporters that I talked to said it was so many people calling us reporters about all the shit that he did as a student and a football player at Florida A&M, and his mother threatened Florida A&M if they released anything, she was going to make sure they didn't get any kind of money that the federal government was giving to them.
And what was it that was going on down there? What were some of the?
Well, I'm not even going to say some shit that he did, and he was suspended for a year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he was a football player down there, and then I listen. They did a Florida A&M and Florida State. They right there next to each other.
Uh-huh.
And I'll tell you, in 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 all the schools in the South, the predominantly white schools, when they built those schools, they built a black school right down uh, the street. Like
Right.
Wake Forest had Winston Salem.
Mm-hmm.
That's a black school.
Right.
Southern University had they go to Louisiana State. Grambling had Louisiana Tech. We
Right.
looking at these schools. Florida. If you look at North Carolina, you had Duke, and you had North Carolina. You had North
Right.
Carolina Central.
Right. Well,
Right.
University of North Carolina as a whole system.
Yeah,
I
but-
covered in 1981. I covered in Washington D.C. for the Associated Press a desegregation trial
Yes.
for the University of North Carolina because they had a lot of just black universities and white universities.
You're right. So they right down the street. So yes. So yeah. So Kwame, yeah, ain't no question about it.
I have a question. When you mentioned about the mother calling down there, was that just rumors or did you know?
No, she called down there and said, if you do this shit, we gonna take your funding from you.
Wow.
Now listen, the only time Kwame somebody said no is when the Fed sent him to jail. Now I sat there with him. I listen. When I knew when they did the text messages, I had a meeting with Kim Worthy, who used to be one of my clients, and I'll tell you, and we had lunch at Mario's in Detroit, and she told me, she said, tell your client, because I tried to get them together, but she said, tell your client I got text messages, and if he resigned, I'm not going I'm not going to indict him on 12 counts. I'm going to do it 12 counts.
Wow.
Said, I got it. I go back.
Would she not have indicted at all?
I go back to the mayor. I said, him and Christine Beatty, I'm in their office. No, there's no bullshit. And I said, I met with Kim Worthy. Kim Worthy said they got some text messages on your phone.
Right.
She said, you need to resign. And she not going to indict you. Well, and he said, what text messages? I said, text messages. I don't know. But the bottom line is, I think that's a good deal if that's true.
Right.
Because you can run for re-election.
Right.
You can step down, run for re-election. I say, you're going to get re-elected. And somebody told me in that room, said, fuck Kim Worthy. We're talking to her people. I said, but I talked to the prosecutor.
Right.
We dealing with her people. My people dealing with her people. I said, I'm talking to the prosecutor. But they ain't listening to me because I guess I wasn't shit. And because when I'm just a fucking consultant, I don't know shit. But I know shit because I'm out there and I understand what's going on. And so here we are, and and then at the end of the fucking day, when he went to jail, I was the last person standing with him, and I had people on his side. They mad at me. I said, mad at me? What y'all mad at me for? Oh, you had to talk to the grand jury. Fuck yeah. Everybody that worked for Kwame had to go to the grand jury.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I went to the grand jury. I had to talk to them.
What they ask you? What were they asking you in the grand jury?
Well, they asking me, you did this, you did that. They had every check that I got paid from Kwame, his mama, and all this other stuff.
Uh-huh.
And yeah. What he hired you? Why did he pay that? Because I'm good. That's what I used to tell him. The bottom line is, Bob Berg, all these other folks, they all had to go to the grand jury.
Right.
And I remember
federal case?
Federal case. When I was on a fucking Channel 2, Fox 2, when Let It Rip with my man Hugh Perkins, he said, "Oh yeah, you took money from this fund, and shouldn't you give it back?" I said, "Hugh, you get paid by Rupert Murdoch, who's a fascist and a fucking racist. You gonna give your money back?" He said, "No, I'm not giving my money back, because when a mayor pays me, why would I ask him where he getting the money from?"
Right.
Ain't no question about it. So, and I look at that shit and I look back at it, and I should have said, when my wife said, "Do not fuck with those people."
Right.
That's what she said.
She didn't say it like that.
In hindsight, was she right?
Yeah, she was right. She said, "Do not fuck with those people." She said, "Because I don't like them." I said, "But this is what I said." I said, "He's the mayor. And he calling me. He'll call me 3 times in a week at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they part whatever, the music, whatever." He said, "Adolph, I need you. I need you, bro. I need you." He had me, and then he said, "Let's meet over at the Manugi." And I said, "No, I'll meet you over at your office." So when I went into his office, these people looked at me. They wanted to kill me because, I was beating him up all the time. Right. And when I went into his office, he had people sitting there. I said, "Y'all don't like me." I said, "Y'all won. Y'all get over it." Right. I said, y'all in control of the city, because he had people that basically said, "Oh, we don't want this guy." But I had a guy over there. His name was Jermaine Dickens. Mm-hmm. He was his spokesperson, and he said, "We need you. We need him to come over there." So I went. I worked for Coleman Young. Mm-hmm. Coleman Young got beat up and all kind of other shit, and but Coleman Young knew how to handle shit. Yeah. And when I was there with Kwame, when they had the Navigator, they didn't listen to me. I said, "I already went through this shit before with Coleman Young and a limousine." Yeah. But he had people that didn't understand what was happening.
Right.
They didn't understand the shit.
Right. Why don't we take a break, and I want to hear more about the Navigator, what the advice was. Why don't we take a commercial, and then I want to hear more what you have to say about that. So.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
Okay, we're back.
So curious. Everybody, the Navigator thing became such. What was your advice to him about the Navigator?
He had 2 kids, 3 kids.
Right.
He had a wife. He bought the Navigator from Bob Maxey in Detroit. I said, you listen, you paid a lot for the you leased it. So what? I said, Coleman Young had a General Motors gave him a limousine,
Right.
and all the media was writing about it. And Coleman Young said, "Shit, what y'all want me to have, a Pinto? Fuck that! I'm gonna have it." And that was a 1-day story, 2-day story.
Right.
He had Ella Bullet Cummings come out. That was an undercover car. Then he had somebody else say there was this and that. I said, you don't need to be doing that shit. And the Navigator was a story for a whole fucking year. That was ridiculous. It shouldn't have been a story, because I told him, you need to come out and say, the Navigator, okay, we leased it. It might be a little more than another lease, but I got 3 kids and a fucking wife, and that we using the Navigator.
Mm-hmm.
So fuck y'all. Basically, that's what he need to say.
How frustrating was it to have a client who doesn't listen?
No, it was real frustrating, because every time I talk to him and shit, he would say, "Hey, I got it together. There's nothing new." There's always something fucking new. It was always new.
And did his wife have any input in what was going on?
His wife was just, I felt bad for her.
Yeah.
Ain't no question. And I felt bad for Christine Beatty. Right. Christine Beatty, smart person. And he didn't know. He didn't have. He didn't know. If you got somebody you messing with or whatever, he could have got some company to hire Christine Beatty because she's smart. But he had her there.
What about it was his father? Did his father have much of a presence in city?
Yeah, his father made a lot of money on him.
I mean, the rumor was that his father charged $10,000 to have a sit down with Kwame.
Well, and I hope that the new mayor father don't do that.
Yeah,
ain't no question.
You worry about that?
Yeah, I do. Ain't no question about it.
Yeah,
but the bottom line is, Kwame, smart guy, but he had all kind of other shit that was going on, and hey, he think he can talk his way out of shit.
do you get us? My sense is that Kwame always thought he was smarter than everyone.
Yeah, there's no question. And they ain't. Yeah, Jim, you sitting there looking. What's up, bro?
I'm just looking at some comments. Can I talk about a couple of them?
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening to our friends out there. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Derek Henry, Stephanie Jackson, Janet Overall. Thank you. Good evening. Jill Sheridan. Hey, Jill. Mr. 1213, G Money. Greetings to you. Dwayne LaBoyce, a true sensation who we were talking about a little earlier. Janet Shares. Edward. Good evening. Edward Alt 5085. Queen B talks about working in the House and how Kwame wanted to be the first Black governor and how she thinks he might have turned over a new leaf. I appreciate your optimism, Queen B. We'll leave it at that. Adolph is right. You worked. Ex-reporters tend to be Alexis Wiley, etc., communications director. Well, some of them did okay, right? Alexis Wiley did okay. He ditched the woman who worked the hardest for him, Sharon. Tracy Loftus, Allan, good evening. Janet Seluk, my friend from Brownstown. He seems like he changed. I hope he has. I appreciate that optimism. G Money says he's always pro Kwame. Kwame had a great opportunity, G Money. I think you hit it right on the nose. He had a good opportunity for young people to be a role model, and he blew it. I think he blew it. I guess it's a matter of opinion. He ended up being convicted. And Queen Bee verifies that Adolph's story is correct. His stories are always correct, even if they're kind of out of this world. They all turn out to be true. Marcy Taylor. That's all we have right now. Peter Moore had Dwayla Boyce was not ready to be there. He wanted to be the hip hop mayor, got caught up. Now he's a MAGA. Well, he's a MAGA. I guess I'd be a MAGA if I was looking at 10 more years and I was able to walk out of prison. I'd probably be a little indebted to the guy that let me out.
Well, it came out.
Detroit. Go ahead.
It came out during the election or post-election that Kwame supposedly made a deal that he would campaign for Trump in exchange for a pardon, which he got a commutation, which allowed him to get out of prison, but the pardon would have wiped his anything he owed, whatever the amount is. Now it's $800,000. It would have wiped that clean. And for some reason, Trump has not wanted to give him a pardon. So, but
that was his position.
Yeah.
We don't know if that was Trump's position. We don't know which one of them were telling the truth or not telling the truth. But I think that he promoted that Trump was going to pardon him, and Trump never pardoned him. What do you think about the Detroit police situation? They hid the navigator at the narcotic base for a while. Dwayla, just like Horace, will make a lot of money off his daughters. Pilot tricks. Miss Sheila, it's good to surround yourself around smarter people than you. Learn something tonight. And we always do, for Miss Sheila. Morel Peter, there's Ira Todd. Morel Peter, you have to excuse me. I had a boss once, Peter Moore, so sometimes I get twisted up there, but we can talk about the Detroit if you guys want to talk about it. I don't want to say too much about it. I just make one or two comments. Number one, when you're the police chief, if you have 5 officers or 3,500 officers, they're all your officers and you're responsible for them. And how can I say this? I think your police officers come first. I was on both sides. I was in the union and I also was the chief. And I'll just say right now, it's a very unfortunate situation. I hope the men and women of the Detroit Police Department don't lose faith, because they go to work every day and they do their job. And outside influences, often politics, need to be discarded because, they're not part of the day-to-day function. And I guess I'll say I'm a little disappointed by the outcome for a lot. Not by the outcome, because there is no outcome.
Can you talk specifically what you're
Absolutely. I'll talk. If you want to talk specifically, I can.
So everyone
I
knows
don't want to beat anybody up, but I'll tell you this. When you're in a union, you have rights. Allan was a union guy. You have the right to due process. Everybody has a right to due process. You have a right to question witnesses. You have a right to a chief's hearing. You have the right to arbitrate discipline. And there's a process called progressive discipline. So typically in a police department, and I've done, sadly, hundreds of internal investigations when I wasn't the chief. And what you do is you start off with a letter or counseling. It goes to 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, 14 days. 30 days is talking about termination in front of the public when an investigation is not complete is very troubling to me. I'll just leave it at that.
Are we talking about the 2 officers
Yes.
who called the Border Patrol? Okay. And that they violated the department policy, which says that you don't bring in ICE or the Border Patrol. So initially, Todd Bettison went before the board yesterday, and they confirmed a suspension without pay for 30 days. And then at the same time that day, he said, I intend to fire them.
Correct.
Today, he reversed course and he said, "I'm not going to."
But
Well, it's not really up to him.
But it ain't up to him. But
Sure.
what was wrong? And I'll tell you, when I worked for the city, and you look at it was labor relations at the time, and you look at how you get rid of people, because I fired people, and what the chief did, he did what I used to do. You know, you have somebody that did some shit that, okay, you say you suspend them. But what I did, and I looked at the little white book that I had, I suspended them, and then at the same time, when I suspended them, I fired them. I basically said, you suspended, and at the same time, you fired. I had the mayor's office come down and say, you can't fire them at the same time that you suspend them. I said, well, I'm looking at this shit. I said, yes, I can. Said, no, you can't. Technically, you can, but no, you can't. So when you suspend somebody, you got to give them 30 days before you fire them. That when I was working for the mayor.
And we have questions about contact
So,
advice.
so what
Worth
Todd
it.
Bedison did when he said, no, they shouldn't have done that, and he should have just said, we suspended them. He should have just ended at that and not say, I'm going to fire them.
Right.
Because when you say you're going to fire somebody, they going back to the union, and the union said, okay, we're going to fight you on that shit. You can't fire them and shit. I think that was his mistake. His intentions was good, but
I don't think so.
no, I think
I think it was a political decision, and that's
well,
unfortunate.
ain't nothing wrong. All of it's political, Jim. There ain't no question. And you're right. It is political. It's all political. It's been political. It when and the cops that did that, it was political. They didn't know it. I don't know if they knew it was political, but it is political. You are absolutely right. It's political, but he got people that's working for him should have told him, say, Chief, don't do that. Right. Don't say that. Let them, you can suspend them. I would be there and say, suspend them with pay, and then we'll go from there. But hey, but that's me. Go ahead, Allan.
I think one or two things were going on there. One, he acted like he was really mad about it. Like,
and he was.
Like he told the department, it was an edict or whatever, we are not calling in. It's not that they're going to block ICE or the Border Patrol, but they're not going to call them in to, deport people. One, and then also the consul has made it clear they're very bothered by ICE activity and stuff.
But the council is full of shit. Yeah. So the council don't mean anything. I'm just gonna tell you that.
But I think Mary Sheffield is also.
The council don't mean the council. The council have no power. I'm just telling you that.
Can I tell you?
But I think Mary Sheffield also.
They don't have any power.
But Mary does have power, and I think.
No, she don't. No, I don't think so.
Not over a judge or an arbitrator who will decide this case.
I don't think so.
Can I tell you guys? Not over them, but she has power over policy, and she
has the policy, but that don't mean shit. I'm just telling you, it don't mean shit.
Well, policy can kiss my. I'm gonna tell you about policy. Policy can get shoved right up anybody's whatever they want. I'm gonna tell you a quick little story. I'm gonna try and be really brief. I was out there. Police stories people don't want to hear. I hate telling them, but I'm gonna give you one. All right. North Carolina, 4 or 5 guys on a motorcycle. Somebody wants to watch the Red Wings. We've been riding all day. We're in a place called Statesville, North Carolina. 5 or 6 guys walk into a bar to watch the Red Wings, which I didn't care about, wasn't drinking. Family fight happens. Young lady, 20-something, and her boyfriend, husband are fighting, right? I'm sitting back watching. There's 5 bikers, and there's nobody in the bar. And I'll tell you, it was a country bar. In comes a police officer into this country bar. He happens to be black. This young lady is 23 years old, ripping him, making racial, et cetera, et cetera. All right, what am I going to do? Before it's over, blood's everywhere. People are hurt. People are going to the hospital. But I walked up to him and I told him who I was, and I told him I would help him. That's 700 miles from my house. That's what police officers do. That's what ICE does. I tell you what, if there's a policeman in Detroit and he's out there wrestling with somebody, I can tell you right now, that Border Patrol agent, that ICE agent, that DA agent that's on his way home from dinner is going to stop and help you. And they're typically the only ones that'll help you. Police officers stick together, and for them to try and push ICE or any federal agency aside and make policy against them is probably a violation of the Constitution, and it's immoral because nobody else is going to protect that officer.
I'll disagree with you on some of that.
You've never been a police officer, Allan. You've never been by yourself, and I have when I needed an off-duty officer.
Look, Jim, you're commingling something that look. I agree with you 100%. Look, it's the brethren. I agree. Look, if somebody's out there trying to help each other out, but it's another thing to call the agency in, and which leads to deportations, and they have a policy of not doing that. It's not like don't interfere with ICE, knock them around. Detroit police don't have your back. Both have their back. It's totally
not according to the council in Detroit.
2 different issues.
They're not 2 different issues.
I don't
have time to decide what the Constitution says when you're laying on your back and someone's beating you up.
It's 2 different
issues.
But
I don't give a fuck about the council. And Allan and Jim, I agree with you, Jim. I agree with you, Allan. And you know what? It is what it is. But the bottom line is the city council. The city council is full of shit. That's me, and I'm talking. The city council is full of shit, and so.
Are you talking about as a body or as individuals?
As a body, is full of shit. That
when the chief starts answering to the politicians instead of the men and women that wear the uniform, put the life on the line, you got a problem.
But you know, Jim, that the police chief do answer. He answers to the mayor, and if the mayor untold our friend Todd Medicine, this is what you do. And he gonna do it. That is just the bottom line. Unless you want to be the police chief or don't want to be the police chief.
I've been a police chief.
I just want to clarify.
I know, and you always been your own person. Todd Medicine been his own person, and I was surprised that he backtracked and said, "Well, we're not gonna fire him," but you have people in a Detroit Police Department that should have been telling him, advising him, not telling him because he is in control, advising him that, you know what, you don't go out there and say you're going to fire anybody. Say that this is what y'all don't want the police officers to call ICE and all this other stuff. Before you call ICE, you need to call this person, etc. That's what you need to do. I don't work for the city.
Yeah,
you got to have somebody said, okay, if you think you need to call ICE, you need to call this person first before you call ICE. Now, I'm not mad at the cops that call ICE. because they are cops.
They call Border
understand
Patrol.
the game.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think what happened was, at least in one of there were two instances, at least in one, the person didn't speak English. They needed a translator. They realized that person might not be here legally or whatever. You know, the policy is the policy set by the department, and I think there's a city policy there. But I just want to clarify again with Jim. Jim, I'm not saying like if ICE agents or the Border Patrol or whatever were in need of help, absolutely 100%. I mean, there's nothing that would block them from helping each other out. It's just when you have a situation that's going to lead to, I think one of the people, at least one of the people, was deported or has been, in the process now. And that's the policy of the city. I mean, and I think there's actually an ordinance about that. But so I don't think it was like an emergency, like, hey, I need backup from ICE. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Any police officer can call and say, I need help. Other units can come. I mean, if they're really
but the whole point of it is that these cops need to understand, if that's the policy of the police department, that's what they should do. But I don't think they should be fired outright and they backtrack,
right.
And I understand. You backtrack. It looks good when you said I'm firing these people, etc. And then when the union get involved and say, hey, no, you can't fire these people.
Right.
And you got some of the cops that got 27 years. It's not like they rookies. It's not like they idiots. They understand what's going on and shit.
I agree. Look,
and they've been doing that. These not the first cops that are called ICE. They not the first cops. They not the first cops that called ICE on the shit.
Yeah, there's due process. I agree 100%. He should not have said, I'm going to fire them. He made a recommendation to the police commission that they be suspended without pay for 30 days.
Which is fine.
Yeah,
which is fine, Allan. And no question. But he said it should be fired. But the city council is full of shit, ain't shit. This is the worst. This is one of the worst city councils. I'm sorry. They got shit. They not nothing. And I've been around city councils and all the other stuff. As a body, they nothing. They have done nothing. I looked at what's happening in the city. We looked at the school district and shit, and the city council has said nothing, done nothing, and here we are.
Let me ask you,
we're talking about ICE.
Let me ask you, Adolph, of council. You've seen the council members over the many, many years. What would you say the top 3 or 5 council members that you've seen over the years who are really good, solid council members?
Mary Ann Mahaffey, who I couldn't stand because she was just a whatever.
Yeah.
Mel Ravis, Clyde Cleveland, Jack Kelly, Nick Hood Jr., the daddy.
Kenny Cockrell.
Yeah, Irma Henderson.
Yeah.
These people, you know what? They fought with Coleman Young and all this shit. People don't even know who Herb McFadden was. He was on the city council. People that told Coleman Young, screw you, fuck you, whatever, because we have a council that's a strong mayor city council. We had the mayor is in control, but the bottom line is you can disagree with these folks, but then at one time when the city was trying to take the airport and make it a real airport, and they fought. I'm telling you, it was crazy.
Right.
But the bottom line, when it was a tie vote, and they had one person that would make the airport, and we had Pro Air and all this shit. It was Jack Kelly. He was against the airport, but he met with the mayor the night before. The mayor gave Jack Kelly what he wanted. You know what Jack Kelly wanted?
Huh.
His son needed a job.
Oh, really?
And the mayor gave him a job. And so the next day, when the vote came, it was a tie vote, and it was Jack Kelly. And Jack Kelly and all the people that was there, they knew Jack Kelly was going to vote against the mayor. Jack Kelly voted with the mayor, and they had to get the police to take him out because the folks wanted to kill Jack Kelly. But the bottom line is, these was people, Clyde Cleveland, when they was going to fight each other with David Eberhardt, all these folks, those was real city council people. We supposed to have somebody, we had Gabrielle, what's her name?
Santiago.
What she tell you, she can't come on, right?
Well, what happened is there was some crossing of wires. They said, yeah, she wants to come on tomorrow. And then somebody else sent me an email, which I didn't see. And then I reached out a few hours later, and they said, oh, it's too late. You didn't respond right away. And so we're going to try to get somebody.
But the bottom line is, we had folks, we had Barbara Rose Collins, we had Kay Everett. These are people, Brenda Scott, they used to come, they come in the line of fire. Right. And Ken Cockrell, all these folks. We don't have that shit with the city council. I'm sorry.
Right. No, I agree. I want to read, Queen Bee has actually a good point, which I think is accurate. She said DPD officers are prohibited from soliciting immigration status information to determine compliance with federal immigration law from someone seeking police services or a victim or witness. And as far as I know, and Jim, maybe you can speak to that, but I think that's correct.
I can't imagine a police department writing a policy, writing out a particular group of law enforcement officers that they would or would not cooperate with. That is lunacy. That is pure politics. It's pure theatrics, and it's wrong, and it's probably against the law.
First of all, it's not against the law to not call in.
But she didn't do that. What Queen Bee's talking about, she did not call them in for that reason, according to her in her lawsuit. She's saying she was trying to identify somebody. And so tell me what's wrong with a police officer taking somebody off the streets that belongs off the streets? What is the problem with the liberal point, taking somebody that should not be here off the streets? Why is that a problem? Explain it to me. So if the Border Patrol stopped a murder, should they just let him go?
But the bottom line is, what if they don't need to be off the street?
So
no, we need all the facts, and you don't tell people you're going to fire them when you don't have all the facts.
There's no question, because people would say, Jim, okay, that's fine, but what about the people that don't need to be off the street, that ICE picked up? They go into schools, and you know what people got the problem, Jim and Allan, is these people wearing masks and shit. We dealt with that shit as black people with the Klan when they had the masks on, and they come and they got 30 people lynching one person and all this other shit. We understand that, and now people are looking at what these ICE people doing. They got masks, and you know what?
That's not what we have here. We have somebody trying to identify a person that they cannot identify through fingerprints.
But if a masked person come at me and say, we get your ass out here, and
let me say this. The problem is, particularly right now, is that we have agencies that have, historically have done, Border Patrol, ICE, have done good things. What we have now is agencies that are like on steroids, that are, for one, they're picking up people who are here legitimately, have asylum requests pending, and with this administration, they're grabbing those people, deporting their families. We also have, CNN just did a report saying
That's
there's
not what this
probably
is,
about,
Alan.
let me just finish, that there's 150 people or
All right.
something, Americans, that they have arrested under a federal law which says if you're interfering with federal police, you can be arrested. So what they've done in some instances, somebody's honked the horn at them, or yelled at them, and they've arrested them and they've put them in jail, American citizens. So the problem is there's such a high level of distrust going on right now, and so it makes it worse to rely on that. I understand what you're saying.
Not the whole country, for some groups.
I'm not totally disregarding what you're saying, is that you're saying if somebody's out on the street and they're not supposed to belong here, but
that's not what the stop was about. This was a law enforcement officer doing a law enforcement function, unable to identify another human being because they wouldn't.
But he should have known.
Would not speak.
But he should have known. But he should have known if that's what the policy of the Detroit Police Department.
But well, she did. She called her lieutenant, and her lieutenant said, "Call the Border Patrol," who was probably right down the street. There's a Border Patrol office right here in Gibraltar.
That lieutenant need his ass kicked,
but they haven't done that because they didn't do a full-scale internal investigation following the process that they should have. That's the issue.
But they should have. And that's what we gonna have.
They didn't get a written statement from her. Apparently, she didn't have a hearing. She didn't tell her a hearing. She has a contract.
But the bottom line is they had to backtrack, and
they're not back. They're not done backtracking. It's probably a 1-day deal. It's not 30. It might be 1 or 2 days is going to be a lot in this case. I'm going to tell you, they're going to be writing a check.
Ain't no question. Now, Allan, you got the last word on this.
I want to show this. Let's end on a high note here. For Black History Month, ABC News did a story about 5 doctors at Johns Hopkins. And here, I have a little video here.
Finally, the doctors behind a different type of medical breakthrough. Take a good look at these 5 doctors. More than a portrait, it's a moment suspended in history. For the first time, 5 African-American surgeons now lead the trauma service at the preeminent Johns Hopkins Hospital. Tonight, we hear from some of the trailblazers behind this historic team.
My parents are so proud. I am the first physician in my family, and I think it's so impactful.
For Dr. Lawrence Brown, medicine is more than science. It's service.
That's what's important to me. Equity has to remain at the forefront of how we deliver patient care, how we do research, how we scale programs up in our healthcare system.
Dr. Zachary Numa is the result of service that was modeled and purpose that was inherited.
Growing up in Columbus, Georgia in the 1990s, I watched my parents, my mom, a family medicine doc, my dad, a general surgeon, show up to serve patients every day.
For Dr. Ife Shiombo, history isn't just remembered here, it's carried forward.
The best part is that I get to save lives and have an impact every single day. To anyone who's watching, realize that your dream and capacity can only be limited by you. And if you can think it, see it, then you can absolutely reach it.
Go ahead, Allan.
Yeah, so I thought that was a nice piece that was done for Black History Month. But
you know what? I'm glad you played that, because we all watch MASH on TV. You watch MASH, Jim?
A little bit, not a lot, but a little bit.
Did you watch MASH?
I did. I watched. I was a fan of MASH. Yeah.
When it first came out, they had a black character that played a doctor. Tim Brown, actor. They got rid of him, and the creators of MASH said, "Well, we trying to make this a real show with that was You know,
Really?
we don't want to create no crazy shit.
Right.
When they started the mass unit, and he said, and the creator of the show said there was no black surgeons in Korea, which was bullshit, because the first director, the head of the mass units in Korea, was a black surgeon. And you know, this is why we got to have Black history. I used to be saying, why we got to have Black history? We need to have it. We need to just have it in schools, the history books, etc. But I guess we got to keep saying this what's happening, because people like Donald Trump and all these other folks saying, "Oh, we don't need DEI and all this other shit." But the bottom line is, when this guy Larry Gilbrock, that's his name, saying there was no black surgeons, and there was black surgeons in fucking Korea, and the first person that ran these mass units was a black doctor. God damn, you can't say that the shit happened. You know, it's a TV show. Don't say you got rid of the guy not because there was no black doctors, because you didn't think he matched with the other folks.
Right. Well, you didn't do your research. You didn't do your research, but we see in Philadelphia where they took down the slavery display there, and the judge ordered it to be put back up. And the Trump administration said, we want to take it down. It doesn't basically jive with our narrative of what American history is, which is like, American history is both great.
It's all our history.
And horrible.
It's all our fucking history, whether we from England, France, where we from Africa, where we from Asia, all the shit. The people that built the fucking railroads from China and all this other shit. That, you know, it is what it is.
Well, I'm just saying that we have some incredible moments, and I mean, you know, America's a great country, but we also have some very shameful.
But
the Indians, slavery, you know, on and on and on.
It's like when the Jewish intellectuals fled Germany when Hitler took power and came to the U.S. and most of them, and I tell folks that they went to the black universities, the black colleges, where they was teaching. You know, there ain't no question. And when the end of the war came and they went to the concentration camps, the black soldiers that was there, they was one of the first that showed up at the concentration camps.
My mother, who was at the time of the end of the war, she had gone from Auschwitz to a German munition factory. She said when they were liberated, there were black soldiers. She said it was the first time she grew up in Czechoslovakia, first time she had ever seen black soldiers or black people at all, ever. You know.
There's no question. So here we are. Tomorrow we'll be back. Jim, your last word, bro.
Well, I'm going to stick to my theme and say, if you're out there, if you've ever gone into a precinct, we lost one officer in our department in the history. It's been over 100 years. If you walk into a precinct and see that some places, dozens of officers that have given their lives for their community, quit second guessing them. They know what the fuck they're doing and they do it right.
Okay. Allan?
Look, I'm very supportive of law enforcement, but, you know, like any profession, most, you know, there are always exceptions that don't do it right, but there are a lot who do, obviously a lot who do it right. I see Jim's getting angry here, but
no, I'm not angry.
Well, no, Jay,
Not
Hey,
angry at all. You're right. People that screw up need to be held
I
accountable.
mean, every profession has
I never disagree with that.
has people who stray, who are not honest people
I'm not
or
disagreeing with
whatever.
you.
You know,
Not at
I
all.
mean, so
I've done it. I've done it. I've been on both sides. I've seen it. I've terminated people. It's painful. But people, not everybody needs to be in law enforcement. But
No, no
an
question.
officer communicating with another police, what would you? It just it's lunacy to me. We all need to stick together and do what's right.
Okay. I'm Adolph Mongo. Well, Detroit in black and white to be back. Hey, Allan, thank you, bro. You know, you're my guy. I got a call from the town crier today. I thought about you. He know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
And Jim, you know you're my guy, man. And
We have fun. And we have fun because all our viewers out there are great. Thank you, everybody.
No question. And Teresa, you know you're my girl. I love you. No, we'll be back tomorrow. This is Detroit in black and white. Thank you very much.